Christians usually assume that someone with great accomplishments here on earth will receive great rewards in heaven. Thus, they believe a missionary who transforms a society from paganism to Christianity will be greatly rewarded, while an illiterate poor man with low intelligence and few converts will receive very little from God. They also assume an evangelist with thousands of converts will receive many more honors than a housewife with no public ministry role. Today in Luke 12, we will see that Jesus taught a very different perspective on eternal rewards. They will not be based on total output. Instead, they will be based on how well we fill the role God has given us. The early verses of the 12th chapter of Luke tell us one day, when Jesus was teaching, a man in the crowd asked Jesus to make his brother share the family inheritance. Jesus declined the request and instead began teaching about greed and worry. Jesus commanded his audience to store up treasure in heaven rather than on earth. He used an illustration about men waiting for their master to warn the crowd to always be ready for the return of the Lord. Then he launched into another illustration. So let's pick up reading at Luke 12, verse 39. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have allowed his house to be broken into. You too, be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect. Notice the phrase, do not expect. The return of the Son of Man will be a surprise. Many Christians look at the current chaos around the world and conclude the end times must be imminent. They assume the sin and corruption of the present day are indicators of the end. However, Jesus said the end will be a surprise. Perhaps the fact that we think the end is near is an indicator that it is not near. The Son of Man may return at a time when most people think the world is getting better, meaning they would not think the return is at hand. The lesson of the illustration is we need to be ready for the Lord's return at all times, regardless whether his return seems imminent or not. Just as a burglar strikes when his victim is not expecting it, so too the return of the Son of Man will be unanticipated. Verse 41. Now Peter said, Lord, are you addressing this parable to us or to everyone else as well? And the Lord said, Who then is the faithful and prudent steward whom his master will put in charge of his servants to give them their rations at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. Humans tend to get wrapped up in living daily life that we don't think much about the future. We fail to anticipate how decisions today will impact our lives 10 or 20 years from now. Even worse is we fail to understand how our actions and decisions on earth will affect our rewards in eternity. In this parable, Jesus taught that our faithfulness in using our gifts and responsibilities now will determine the honors we will enjoy forever. Verse 45. But if that slave says in his heart, My master will be a long time in coming, and begins to beat the male and female servants and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers. At this point, the church age is 2,000 years old. It is tempting for people to think the end times will never come. Christians naturally believe they have plenty of time to serve God and earn eternal rewards. However, death may strike at any time. The end times may appear unexpectedly. If we are not faithful each and every day, we may miss every opportunity to serve God and earn eternal rewards. Verse 47. And that slave who knew his master's will and did not get ready or act in accord with his will receive many beatings. But the one who did not know it and committed deeds worthy of a beating will receive but a few. From everyone who has been given much, much will be required, and to whom they entrusted much, of him they will ask all the more. People generally want life to be fair. The common concept of fairness is that each person receives the same reward for the same output or the same punishment for the same crime. Christians also usually assume that someone with great accomplishments here on earth will receive great rewards in heaven. Thus, they believe a missionary who transforms a society from paganism to Christianity will be greatly rewarded, while an illiterate poor man with low intelligence and few converts will receive very little from God. However, Jesus taught that our rewards from God will be in accord with how well we utilize that which we are given. Someone with little talent and few accomplishments might receive the same reward as someone with great ability and huge successes. This is important to keep in mind when we debate the role of women in church and society. The Bible places restrictions on what women can do in church, but many people today want to ignore those restrictions. Sometimes the thought is that women should have just as much opportunity to do public ministry as men so that they can earn eternal rewards. However, based on today's passage, we know that a housewife with no public ministry role can earn just as many eternal rewards as the most successful evangelist if she is faithful in the role God gave her. The role God gave us is not only determined by our abilities, it is also determined by the commands found in the Bible. Verse 49. I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. But I have a baptism to undergo, and how distressed I am until it is finished. Do you think that I came to grant peace on earth? I tell you no, but rather division. For from now on 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. He was also saying to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say, a shower is coming, and so it happens. Jesus was teaching people who lived in Galilee and Judea. When they saw a cloud rising in the west, it would have been rising from above the Mediterranean Sea, therefore it would have contained moisture and brought rain. Verse 55. And when you see a south wind blowing, you say, it will be hot today, and it happens. When the people in Galilee and Judea felt the wind coming from the south, they knew the air was coming from the desert. Therefore, they knew it would be a hot day. Verse 56. You hypocrites, you know how to examine the appearance of the earth and the sky, but why do you not examine this present time? And why do you not even judge for yourselves what is right? For while you are going with your opponent to appear before the magistrate, on your way there, make an effort to settle with him, so that he may not drag you before the judge, and the judge turn you over to the officer, and the officer throw you into prison. I say to you, you will not get out of there until you have paid the last lapton. Christians often assume someone with great ministry accomplishments on earth will receive more heavenly rewards than someone with few ministry successes. However, Jesus taught that eternal honors will be based on how well we fill the role God has given us. A person who is given much will be expected to produce much, while a man with little talent will not be expected to yield numerous fruit. This is an important concept to keep in mind in regards to the role of women in church. Since God restricted the role of women in church, they do not need to have public ministry success in order to earn heavenly recompense. Likewise, people with mental disabilities, low intelligence, and or few talents are not destined to disgrace in eternity. They have the potential to earn just as much as the greatest evangelist if they faithfully use the few talents God did give to them. Thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please tell others about Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on subscribe, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain.